Hello, welcome to episode 1 of Neanderthal Makes It All. Should we crack on? I've had a personal project that I've been working on for a while now, and I thought it'd be cool if I could maybe chronicle it through YouTube. Won't get too much into the lore at the start of this. I'll get more into it later on in the video. So I'm making a creature. You know this, you've seen the thumbnail. You wouldn't really be here otherwise. I normally like to start off with a little sketch, which I filmed in portrait because I'm a genius. Moving on. So I'm going to be sculpting this in ZBrush, or ZBrush if you live in the land of the free. If you're anything like me, you love watching people push around light grey pixels on a dark grey background. At the moment I'm just trying to get in all the big shape and working on the silhouette. You might be wondering what's going on with a flat head. I just thought the best way to combine a gorilla and a crab was to literally just have a crab for a head. Top of my game, me. Now I'm just introducing a little bit of musculature, getting that rib cage in. Yes, thicker still. Just working on those claws. Fantastic fight in a bit of butter. A little trick, rather than doing 2 claws, just flip it round. Yeah, I'm just stretching out some elbows. I used to work with someone who had elbows like this. Turns out he just had gout. His feet look like a witch's hands. Just stretching out some googly eye stalks. Behold the wonders of technology. Alakazam. Right, if I don't cover up this booty, I'm going to get no work done. It hurts me more than it hurts you, but these are the sacrifices that art demands. So I wanted this creature to have a shell, but I still wanted it to look like a big hench meaty boy. So I'm using the underlying musculature to sort of infer where these interlocking plates are going to go, and I'm having to make decisions as to where they would lock in together, would they rub together, would they slide over each other, that sort of thing. Just adding a little bit of thickness here. I like my crabs like I like my women. Boiled. Okay, one last hurrah before I cover it forever. God damn! So now I'm just getting onto those secondary details, all the little lumps and bumps. I like things to be quite gnarly, I like a lot of texture. I want this thing gnarlier than your granddad's knuckles. Stretching out some Gene Simmons spikes. Seems a little bit unfair to compare Gene Simmons to a creature. That's alright mate, you're nothing like Gene Simmons. He's a bad man. You might notice I got a lot of reference photos on the screen. I think when you're sculpting anything, it's good to have reference around you. Even when doing things like creatures. I think when you're designing a creature, it's always best just to look at nature. I mean, even the reference picture I'm using now. I mean, this thing exists. You can walk into a jungle, find a coconut crab, and never sleep again. Okay, now I'm dropping back to really get those details nice and crisp. Just tighten everything up. Okay, I'm not sure what that was, but let's try that again. Moving on. So as this thing has evolved from some sort of crab, it would just be interesting to throw in a couple of extra limbs. And rather than just giving it, the classic big huge forearms, I thought I'd nestle a couple of little sweet boys, little cute arms in the chest for picking up fruit, nuts, that sort of thing. When it comes to creature design, I'm a big fan of form and function in biology. I could just stick a big pair of wings on this, or a giant snake tail, but it just wouldn't work. In nature, there's always a reason as to why things look the way they do, and that's normally just survival. Now I'm just working on getting this guy looking really gnarly. Look at that. Looks like Gordon Ramsay's forehead. I rewatched The Dark Crystal recently. I love those things. The mystics? I want to say mystics? The things that look like Keith Richards drank too much cough syrup. Well, anyway, they've got these great patterns in their face and their skin, and it's something Guillermo del Toro does a lot. I'm a big fan of that, so I thought I'd incorporate some symbols into this thing's forearm. Just give it a tiny touch of fantasy. I ended up putting some on the shoulders as well. I thought it looked cool. I haven't really talked about the techniques I've been using to make this, or what brushes I'm using, etc. Because to be honest, I didn't think it'd be interesting listening. If you want me to talk more about that sort of stuff, I'm happy to do so. Just let me know in the comments. Although I warn you now, I'm going to be using words like retopologize. Yeah, retopologize. Exciting stuff. Moving on to some of the finer details now. Looks like my back when I was 15. Now it just looks like I wrestled a bunch of cats in a glue factory. 3D printers are pretty amazing at the moment, but it's going to be touch and go whether you'll see any of this. But I just can't help myself, this is normally one of my favourite bits. You might be wondering why these claws are bending around backwards. In the original sketch it was walking on the tips of its claws, but it just looked a bit weird. So I've tried to bend them round backwards so it looks like it's walking on its knuckles. And I'm just putting these little gnarly stubs on there to make it look like it's got more grip. Again here I'm just adding even more texture that you'll never really see. I want this guy to look like he's had a past, he's had a history, he's been knocking around for a while. So I thought a big crack in his shell from maybe a past fight with a rival, something like that. Just a little bit of detail, give him a bit more personality. And now we're just on to the final pose. I'm going to keep it simple, nothing too dramatic. I'm after a sort of day in the life sort of pose. And that's it. Sculpt done. Now it's time to print this little affront to God. I was going to try and set up a little time-lapse video of this being printed, but I had too much to live for, surprisingly. Right, well, we're on to the painting, but rather than bore you with that, I'm going to spin a little yarn and give you some of that lore I promised. So this creature comes from a mysterious continent called Tir Estron, which appears and disappears in random locations all over the planet. Nobody really knows where it comes from, although there are many theories. The most popular theory is that it bleeds through from another dimension. Tir Estron is teeming with strange alien life, some of it familiar and some of it less so. So the bulk of this channel is going to be exploring the wildlife of Tir Estron through sculpting and model making. Basically a wildlife documentary for wildlife that doesn't exist. I really enjoy speculative evolution, which according to Wikipedia
is a subgenre of science fiction and an artistic movement focused on hypothetical scenarios in the evolution of life.
Basically just making up your own animals and deciding what they look like, why they act that way, what do they eat, where do they live, and so on. So this is our first creature. Its street name is gorilla crab, but its Latin name is Aculeatus cancer, which is a bit of an unfortunate name. That's like calling it Crocodilius AIDS or Homo syphilis. I like to think of this thing as a gardener of the forest. I imagine it maintaining its territory by cutting down certain trees to impress a mate, which then causes other trees to grow in their place, making this thing like a keystone species that others depend on. Just quickly, if you want to make a little oil wash, this is all you need. Bit of brown, bit of black, bit of white spirit, and your magic shaker. Well, we're getting close to the end of the painting now. Just giving this a nice oil wash to tie it all in together. Good thing about an oil wash is you've got plenty of time to muck about. I could probably come back to this tomorrow and it'll still be fine. Make sure you wipe it all off though. After the wash, you were just putting a little bit of black paint on the eyes. I'm not really sure why I dedicated so much of this video to that, but there's no going back now. I was just happy to get some footage of my hands not shaking like a shitting dog. And now to make those eyes really pop, I'm going to use a little bit of UV resin. I don't know if you used this stuff before, but it's fantastic. It never goes off unless you expose it to a bit of UV light, so make sure you keep your curtains closed when you use it. I just put some cream in it and it went away. I'm using Kenwood to make this base. XPF foam is fine to do this sort of thing. Now I'm just using a cheap craft knife to get some undulation in this base. There's nothing more boring than a flat base. Except for maybe this video. Watch your fingers, boys and girls. Now there's 1,000,001 videos online on how to make fake trees, but in my experience the best way to make a little tree is just use a bit of a tree. Not rocket science, and this is what I did. There are all the ingredients you need to make a nice texture paste, and then you can just butter it on your base. Buttery biscuit base. Can anyone remember that? No? Too young? Can anyone else just feel themselves aging? Feel like I turned into dust? Not even dust, just like a fine vapour. Or a scab-flavoured vape. Anyway, I sprinkled some stones on. You can find these in your kidneys. It'd be easier to go outside. Now I'm just using a little bit of PVA to seal in this fungus that was already on the sticks. That's the best bit about using sticks from outside. You don't need to add flocking or anything. Now I'm going to add some forest ground cover that I got from WW Scenics. Not sure where the third W went. Now to make sure this sticks down properly, you want to break the surface tension before you add your glue. You can either spray in some alcohol or try telling it a joke. I went for what's the difference between your mother and a dinosaur. Your mother's a cat. That just made things worse, so I used the alcohol in the end. After that was all dry, I gave the whole thing a nice zenithal highlight. I then gave it a once over with some brown. And then after that, I give the trees a nice lighter brown. I've purposely put this on top of wet paint just because I think it looks better. Now I'm just giving the rocks a nice coat of light grey. Nothing too technical. And making sure you had to pick out some of the smaller stones. You don't want to leave everything just brown. And now I'm giving the whole ground a nice dry brushing of a lighter brown. Just to pick out all those details. And then a couple of green and black washes, just to add a bit of variation. I don't know why I had that handcrafted on. I was playing a lot of Cyberpunk at the time. Seemed like a good idea. Just take my advice though, don't do it. It's a false economy. Anyway, this whole thing's going to become very green in a minute, so I thought I'd add a little bit of yellow just to break that up. Now, off camera, I planted some shrubbery seeds. The beauty of these things is that they grow instantly, quicker than a human eye can see. Can you tell this is my first video? Neither can I. Now I'm just adding a little bit of moss. I'm not sure what brand it is, I just got this stuff from Amazon. I got these strange little plant things from Scenics as well. I'm not sure what they are, but they look really good. This little plant thing I got from Gamer Grass. They're quite cool, you could see them to the side on the right there. You just pop them out of a piece of paper. Almost to the end now. I thought this short stumpy tree could do with some short stumpy foliage. I used red because it was the only colour I had. But it looks cool. These leaves I got from Amazon. Again, I'm not sure what brand they are. And penultimately now, I'm just gluing it to the base. And there's only one more step. I stole this black 3.0 from Dan Does. That's okay, I think he stole it from Boyleye Hobby Time. Circle of life, I guess. And that's it, job done. Just a quick word from the TFES, and it's on to our glamour shots.
Aculeatus cancer, or gorilla crab, can be found in some of Tir Estron's thickest jungles. Its shell is tough enough to repel most conventional firearms. They survive mostly off fruit and carrion, although they have also been witnessed killing slow-moving prey. With a lifespan of over 200 years, these creatures are highly territorial, and will act with extreme aggression if they feel their territory is being threatened. With claws that are easily capable of cutting through tree trunks, these creatures are best observed from a distance. If you find yourself face to face with Aculeatus cancer, remember: don't run. Don't make eye contact. Bow and crouch low. Back away slowly. Brought to you by the TFES. We care.